Hello, welcome everyone to the next episode of the podcast. This time we're going to talk about the Gatti, our central piece of technology. We have invited none other than Chris Ash from For the Player to see how that has helped them in their company rollout. So please listen in.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode in the What's Up Yggdrasil series of podcasts. My name's Stuart Darkin, I'm Director of New Media at Square in the Air. Today we're going to be talking about the Gatti product and how Yggdrasil makes that available to some of its partners. For this call we're joined by quite a large group from Yggdrasil. That includes Fred, Bjorn, Christoph and Camille. And we have an external perspective coming from Chris Ash at For the Player. Gents, if you could each just take 30 seconds or a minute just to tell our listeners what it is that you do, I'd be grateful. And maybe we could start with you, Fred.
All right, let's see if I know what I do. Hi, my name is Fred. I'm a founder, director, of CEO of Yggdrasil. I've been in the industry since 2006. Started sports betting first, and then went into casino. I've been there since 2009. And I'm gonna enjoy this session.
So my name is Björn Krantz. I'm responsible for global market operations at Yggdrasil. So we are responsible for driving sustainable long-term revenue growth through a well-defined customer and market operations strategy. Our unit have a 360 view on the revenue ecosystem and how we can impact that revenue ecosystem in a positive and sustainable way.
Hi, this is Chris. I've been with Yggdrasil for almost 7 years on different positions, but always close to product and technology.
Hi, my name is Camille. I joined Yggdrasil quite recently, about a year and a half. I basically picked up Gatti project from its inception, and I'm responsible for development of it, and the shape of it. And I'll be my goal here during this meeting is to basically present to you Gatti from the technical side by programming it live.
Hi, Chris Ash. I have also been around this industry for a number of years, maybe even as many as 20. I currently am Business Development Director of For the Player, which is a master's partner and studio. And previously I had another business called Ash Gaming and also ran Playtech Open Platform for a number of years some time ago.
Camille, can I come back to you if I may? There's something you're going to be doing during this conversation, during our session here, over the next hour or so. What are you going to be working on while we're talking?
Yeah, so basically what I'm going to show you here is basically how quick and simple it is to use Gatti platform and leverage all the unique solutions that we're offering that we're going to talk about today. So yeah, I'm going to do live coding, and hopefully by the end of this call you'll see how simple it is.
Okay, thanks so much. I look forward to it. We'll check in with you later if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Fred, if I can turn to you now, for those familiar with game development kits such as they are, tell us why Gatti is different and how you came up with the idea.
Sure, I'll do that. First and foremost, the Gatti is, the abbreviation is Game Adaptation Tools and Interfaces. Because it's not just a GDK, and I think that's the reason why it has this kind of a more of a different kind of name, and it basically is what we have done is that we've taken all the adaptation we are doing for our integration for the regulated markets, because there are some custom integrations as well for some of the biggest operators in the world. Let's say PokerStars, they don't just offer a standard API or they take your API. they have a set of rules for them that everyone had to adhere to. And they're not the only ones. There's plenty of those out there. And there's customizations for regulated markets that are occurring on a regular basis. And we basically taken all of that and created a standard around that. And that is what we're offering to our partners, for them to be able to access all the regulated markets that we're in and all the customers that we have integrated to. So that solves a bit of a headache, I would say. There's a lot of heavy lifting that we have packaged into one set of tools and interfaces. And the reason, how did we come up with this from the beginning? Was it altruistic to help everyone else? Well, in one way, yes, it was. Because if we take a couple of steps back, we have decided through analysis of the market and where things were going, we saw a lot of creative talent out there in the market, such as Chris Ash. They've done a race before, they want to do it again, and there was other like this. And there's talented people that maybe do an exit or maybe leave to set up a new shop. We said these guys will not need to do the heavy lifting again. Let's provide them with these tools and interfaces for them to access this and grow rapidly. And we can be the enabler of this instead. So we want to enable creativity, and that was the original idea behind the YG Master program. So we started with the YG Master program, and the proof of concept was to see if it could work in a collaboration. We had to change a bit of our operational flow, and we started pretty quickly, because this was pre-Gatti, right? So we started pretty quickly realize, okay, we have something here in the collaboration with the partners, but we also noticed that we cannot be the bottleneck of building the game server, because we said we don't want to have any bottlenecks for the operators. It needs to be certified and coming as a part of the roadmap. So what do we do? And I basically sat down with Krzysztof, was on the call, and he did some thinking, going back and forth and thinking and so forth. And then he came back and he started to explain, you know what, I think we have something here. And I was like, is it a wrapper? No, it's not that. What is it this? And I was like, no, it's not that. I was like, Chris, what is it? And we started to go through that, and all of a sudden we said, hey, this is bigger than a GDK. This is bigger than a wrapper. This is a set of tools and interfaces for this. And hence we started to package that and test it with a few partners. And then we realized, hey, this is going to be a very, very scalable thing forward. We're going to solve a lot of stuff for the entire aggregation model, which we knew through my friend Stuart, who was on a previous call on Masters. We knew that had faced some challenges in terms of scalability, and we knew that Gatti would be the kind of the wormhole, so to say, where studios come in and they being quickly coming to market. And we see it working because we see studios coming in, and you heard them previously in the podcast, and they see volumes coming that they haven't seen before, with ease of work. So I'm very happy about this, and I think that was it for today. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, that was my intro.
You talked, Fred, about the creation process and about your conversations with Krzysztof. I wonder what the timelines are here in terms of Gatti, where we are on the journey.
Whoa, you know what? COVID mixed up my timelines, I'll tell you that.
And everyone.
But I would say that we were pretty good at from discussing it as a problem and seeing it, the concept, and saying, yeah, let's go for it. That was it was a very, very quick decision. It was a no-brainer for the board to support this. It was also a lot was in the architecture, how it's going to work. So we knew it's not going to be a huge development project, but it's going to be development, but there's a lot of smartness going in there, a lot of cleverness in architecture and development. And you know what? I think the best guys to answer that is Krzysztof and Bjorn. That's seen this one as well.
Bjorn, Fred has talked about some of the benefits of Gatti. I'd like to separate out the benefits for the studio and also for Yggdrasil. So I'd be grateful if you could clarify that for us.
Clarify that. Yeah, sure. Gatti is a unique and disruptive technology, standardized technology that offers the highest level of, I would say, efficiency, scalability, and also security, and that comes, of course, with a number of benefits. And what Fred outlined here, it's a big thought process on problem solving for the markets and operators and for onboarding that has been going into building Gatti and developing Gatti, of course, with Christoph, that is part of this call as well, and is also one of the founders of the concept. But if we are looking at the business benefits per se, Gatti is a pre-configured regulatory-ready toolkit built, as I said, on standard technology. So, I mean, when the studio game developer is accessing or building the game into Gatti, it also get the game in a set of compliance standards and also compliance with responsible gaming principles. And also mentioned here, when you develop a game into Gatti, it also solves the problem on certain operator requirements. So it really shortened, because of the tools and documentation and automatic testing that exist in Gatti, the development time is really increasing from, let's say, a normal development cycle. And Christoph can confirm this, but I believe that we have seen approximately a 30% reduction in development lead time, which I think is just amazing. Gatti as a benefit, or the technology is also language agnostic, which allow any type of master's partner to use their preferred technology stack. And I think that is really, really important here also for us being able to work with a variety of master's partners that offers a certain innovation and irrespective if they are programming, in Java or C# or C++, Gatti will handle it. And from an IP protection perspective, I believe that thanks to the use of certain Docker, what we call Docker containers here, third parties cannot access the game engine or the game server code. So it's a very, very secure box, which also adds a lot of, let's say, trust and confidence values in Gatti. And all this together is then helping us to offer a better time to market or commercialization of games that is then accessed or ported over Gatti into our global markets and customers. So the guys that is coming in and use Gatti now, they have immediate access to our regulatory markets. It's just amazing. We don't do, market per market. We handle a certification and the preparation for all the roadmap work that we have in cooperation with our partners to again onboard the game that is developed and ported through Gatti and making that available into our customers and market channels. So it's a lot of great benefits that comes with it.
Something else I heard a lot of there was Christoph's name, and they're heaping the pressure on you, Christoph. We have Camille working against the clock to produce something we can look at the end of our conversation today. Christoph, as the guy behind the concept, how easy is it to use Gatti?
Yeah, I mean, we touched a lot of important points and a lot of important USPs of Gatti, but I think it actually boils down to what Fred said, that Gatti is not GDK. Gatti is not trying to force you into some kind of development standards, or it is not trying to change your development habits. Actually, quite the opposite. All it does, it takes your existing game and lets you run it under Yggdrasil platform. So as simple as it is, it actually turned out to be extremely powerful, because all of a sudden we are not needed in the overall process, because studios can take care of full development life cycles themselves, from game idea, game creation, game certification, and then we launch it. So it is sort of trying to tackle the problem in different way than GDK. As a consequence of that, the beauty of this is that it actually lets you integrate your entire portfolio of existing games quite easily. So it's not like we're getting new studio and they need to rewrite all the games to our standards. No, they just do some kind of a API on top of all the existing games, and they can launch it on our platform. So, and as Björn said, we take care of all the regulatory requirements, all the boring stuff, as we say, and studios can focus on making great games. And yeah, I think this is all about it.
Given what you and Bjorn have both said about the openness and accessibility of Gatti, and forgive me as an outsider asking this question, but I feel it's relevant, is there any risk that developers all using the same tools to produce games will end up with products that perhaps look and feel the same?
Okay. No, it's not a problem at all. Exactly for the reason I mentioned before. Gatti is not a GDK. It doesn't force you any type of game design, game behavior. It is just the adapter that lets you run your game, your IP under our platform. So you can create any kind of game you want. Of course, there are some high level limitations, but I think so far we haven't really had a game that we couldn't create.
So, Chris Ash, coming to you, are they right? How easy is it to integrate with Gatti?
No, they are right. Yes, let's just leave it there.
That doesn't help me at all. That kind of answer is not helpful.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of the variety of the gaming content that it can support, to go there first, yeah, that's absolutely correct. There aren't any rules and regulations or other people's abstractions that you need to adhere to. It's got the maximum flexibility in terms of what the individual developer wants to do and what they want to do with their creative process. You can implement what you want to implement, which means that Masters as a platform will have a huge variety of content on it, with lots of different approaches and lots of different skill sets and markets, etc. If you want me to sort of put some colour on some of the other benefits that have already been talked about, I can.
I would, because I think it's valuable to have a different perspective. So yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, the IP is obviously a big thing. Where in the model where you need to teach somebody else's developer how your game runs, and walk them through your specifications, not only does it take longer for that process to unfold, but you are walking someone else through your secret sauce as you do it. So if in the Gatti model you aren't doing that, so you've encapsulated just pragmatically, you've encapsulated your IP more effectively. And a lot of the more complex and innovative games, and from our perspective, we're always trying to do something that's different and interesting and hasn't been done before, and being able to demonstrate that. Those are the things that you don't want to be teaching everybody else, because that is your intellectual property and your core ideas. And then that obviously you're in control of your own timelines because you are doing the development yourself, which means there's less back and forth and interaction. So there's less touch points because it's clear what we need to deliver, and we can run our own timelines in order to do so. So there's a huge benefit there too. That's
quite interesting that you say that. It makes Yggdrasil sound quite hands-off during the process.
It just means that once we've understood the tool sets and what we need to do and what we need to deliver, we can get on and do it, and then come back at there's less points in the project where you need to have full understanding of what's happening, and the documentation is very good. So a thing that probably hasn't necessarily been mentioned yet is the number of test cases. There's a tremendous amount of test cases and automated tests in the suites as well, which is a huge benefit to somebody trying to deliver a piece of content into such a complex, multi-jurisdictional regulatory environment. Because a lot of that thought process has already been done for you, which does speed you up.
I just got to say, I'm so happy to hear this, because when me and there's not a person that was involved in this. It was Stuart McCarthy that was part of the YG Master discussion we had previously or yesterday, another podcast. And when we, he had his history and sitting on the aggregator side before, and he knew the pain points there of being a bottleneck, and discussions with them saying, I don't want to reveal my math models or how my algos work or so forth, which you need to do when you're matching server and math, matching game server and math. So he said, can we? So this was kind of like what you're mentioning now was solving your problem or making, this was the stuff that we said. For us to scale masters, we need to solve these things. And we said that solving, we set that kind of a bullet list to Krzysztof, and we said, this is, and we discussed it in senior management and the other people involved in the tech team. We said, this is what we need to solve. Otherwise, there's no point of doing it. So from proof of concept to that was it. And the Gatti seems to be working, and in a fairly short period of time. We started to talk about this in February, like last year. So
yeah, it's
rolled
very
out. Everyone is using it.
It's very impressive how quickly it's all come together,
yeah,
and how sophisticated the actual tools are. And we haven't even talked about Boost integration. That on its own is quite that's another area of complexity that is abstracted out for the developer.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in just how many of Yggdrasil's successes are being shared here. Fred, you've talked in other podcasts and earlier today, or earlier in this session, about openness and transparency. One of the successes from the early days was Boost and the Boost tools that Yggdrasil offers. Would you mind just reminding people, Fred, what Boost is? And then, Chris, if we can come to you, I'd like your perspective after that as well, please.
All right. Yeah, no, I actually think that Boost, which was the in-game promotional tools, we were the first guys to also there had a problem-solving hat on us and say, how can we innovate this thing with creating more network campaigns that will be automatically handled by us, paid out to the players with a user experience in the client, follow leaderboards in the game client, which previously was handled by some casino manager or casino manager's spreadsheet, which ultimately was very manipulable and everything. Whoever they knew got to win the prize and so forth. We said, no, this is not how we do it. We can develop technology to solve this. So we have that and Boost was just embraced by the market. So I actually think that a lot of games that we pushed out there for some time actually got picked up and pushed better because of the promo tools. So I think we got blind in terms of game development, that we got a lot more push because we had the great promo tools. I'm not going to say that was the case with Red Tiger, but Red Tiger came out with Daily Jackpot. That certainly helped the launches of day games as well. So developing something that's supporting your games and your business operation, that's always going to be great. And so we realized that that's going to be valuable also for our partners. And I know we're not there yet with everything. So I mean, I got a question for Chris Ash. What more can we do for you? Because we got here now. We heard you saying that we're doing a great job, but what more can we do?
That is a good question. I think on the Boost side of things, what's really impressive is that the functionality that has been exposed to all the partners. It's not easy to make sure that all those APIs and all the test cases around them can be available to lots of different partners with different approaches and work, and you can integrate that into your games, and the customers already understand the methodologies, and I see opportunity for, and I think there have been discussions around giving more control to the masters partners, allowing them to set up their own campaigns, talk more directly to some licensees, and some of the workflow around that as well. perhaps the BI, those areas will make the developers more self-sufficient, because we've been focused on developing the game, but then there's a whole commercial piece after that, which, if you can make that dialogue more efficient, then that would be hugely beneficial.
That's a very interesting point, because now we worked a lot by developing the Gatti and streamline the process around game development, which is obviously working and ticking the box. We do have something called Source 2.0, which is going to be like the central part. And I know Bjorn can talk more about this and about that. But that's going to be a central part for us in handling operators, business partners, collaborators, whatever they are, access there. And so I think we have the foundations to even take that to the next level. I think we just need to think about it from a value chain perspective. And as I said, we have had here plenty of we have master studios and streamers, collaborators here on these podcasts, but we also have our responsibility towards the operators. So we need to factor them in what they say in this, saying, do they want us to facilitate part of this? Are they okay if we open up these channels or what? So I think we need to adhere to them. But it's very valuable input. A lot of these can be probably automated and built in by technology, and something might be, like policies that needs to be defined for how we work with certain things. But it's really, really valuable input. And I'm sure Bjorn has something there that he wants to expand on this as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for the ball there, Fred. No, I think it's really important question when it comes to an end-to-end or a 360 type of or responsibility that we are taking, because Gatti is an enabler, right? And we need to optimize and capitalize on that enabler, and we have a responsibility towards our partners, to you, Chris, and to anyone in the partnership. And I think on one end we have the collaboration in making Gatti and the onboarding as smooth as possible. And as secure as possible, so we can enjoy a very fast commercialization without any problems or errors. And then on the front end, we work extremely disciplined, I would say, on the processes and methods, the business automation that we need to have in our interface towards the operator and the global markets in order to commercialize and successfully commercialize and go live with all our partners' innovative roadmaps in the best way, because all of us at the end is putting in a lot of investment. So we need a good uptake, and we need good positions, lobby positions, and we need commitments from operators. So in order to have that, we also put a lot of requirements on timely deliverables. Now we talk about game development in Gatti, but in order outside and above that, we have gameplay videos, we have marketing assets, we have a lot of things that needs to be fit into the ecosystem of making this a success. And in a previous podcast, we talked about streamers as well, and how we can sort of standardize or build this 360 with how do we connect with what we call it push and pull effect, where players can preview and judge games before, and then they look for the games in a more proactive way. And by that, we also secure a little bit of a better uptake. So I think that everything counts here. And Fred, you mentioned Source, which is a unique tool that we have just been going live with, and we're going to develop that further, obviously, over time. And this is more of a marketplace tool where our masters partners can upload a lot of things in a very optimized way, and then making it accessible on the front end to operators, where they have access to timely information and timely material for decision making very, very early in the game development or in the game distribution process. So yeah, everything counts here, and I think Gatti is sort of the enabler of sitting as a centerpiece here. But we look at everything from a 360 view, and here is a tight collaboration with our masters partners and Chris and his team, which we really enjoy.
I also think this is very interesting feedback from Chris in terms of how we want to shape the future of Gatti. Because Fred, we have a lot of discussions about what would be the Gatti 2.0, what kind of features we can add there, and so on. But I think Gatti is good enough and is mature enough, and the future and the next step will not be changing Gatti, but it will be in the ecosystem, in expanding the services around, in letting partners run their own campaigns, or maybe letting them create their own promo tools, in BI and giving them access to data, in Source, which is our portal, our channel, communication channel between studios and operators. So I think Gatti will stay as it is now, more or less, in the center of the ecosystem. But as a next step, we will focus on the services around Gatti.
Yeah, I think that is the way forward as well. Gatti as an enabler for development, ticking the boxes now. Now it is the next level as a services layer. It's like, how do we fill the ecosystem with much more transactions? How do we support both the studios but also the operators? So we need to take them to the table as well. What else would you need? I mean, Source can become a marketplace basically. So it's very interesting.
Gents, I'd just like to take a minute now, if we can, and check in with Camille. Camille, can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
So what have you been doing and what have you achieved in this half hour or so that we've been talking?
Yeah, so basically where I started is basically a couple of graphical assets. It's some graphics that I got from the designer. It's completely static, it's not a game. It was basically just some HTML and CSS, so I don't have to, slice the images from the ground up. And so the time that I put in so far basically got me a game server, not yet up and running, but I just published it to our platform. You can see on my screen that there is an automated pipeline that picked up my my Docker image that I just published. And so far so good. Some functional tests have passed. Game config is good. So I'm soon expecting the game server to be up and running on our platform. And soon after, I'm going to wire up this static client and connect it to my game server and just make it into a game. So it's going fine.
And what kind of game can we expect in the time that you've got? I don't think anyone's expecting you to deliver a high-level slot inside an hour.
No.
But what are we going to see?
The game wasn't the goal here. In my opinion, it was more show you how you would adapt your game to a Gatti and how you would leverage some of the benefits of Gatti, like easy distribution, maybe solving this complex matrix of licenses and operator requirements, how easy it is to hook everything up. So the game itself is just a coin flip. So it's just gonna double my bet or do nothing, or I'm gonna lose it. But I'm gonna show you how to hook it up so you can see the balance, how you can change the bets, how you can implement an autoplay, and how it changes if I'm then going to simulate that I'm on German market or in Finland, where licenses constrain us in different ways. So I'm going to show it hopefully by the end of this podcast. We'll see.
Thank you very much for the update, Camille. We'll let you crack on.
Yeah, thanks.
Something that strikes me about Gatti and the nature and benefits of scaling up is that seems you can have any number of parallel integrations on the go at once. Now, forgive my ignorance, but I hope that's right. It sounds like a huge benefit.
Yeah.
I don't know, Christoph, if you want to comment on that.
No, I mean, because the fact we removed the step where we had to rewrite the game server, the dependency on us, which is part of the, let's call it, traditional model. I mean, we don't have to really participate in the whole process. So studios are fully independent, and they can, we provide them with documentation, and they can integrate, and they can then launch the game pretty much by themselves. So, and I think it was also one of the reasons why it was so easy to convince SMT and get decision to build Gatti. Because it didn't really, it wasn't really FT heavy. So we managed to scale up from one game a month to one game a week, and from a few studios to 20 studios in a year, without really hiring new people, which is amazing. So
yeah, it was a super development. I think it's you see the ramp up now, just in terms of games. How many games are you giving us, Chris, on the roadmap for the next 12 months?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. Yeah. And then you take that times X studios we have. I think the ramp up, I think Bjorn knows it better, but 6-7 games a month coming out now, plus our own games. So we see a ramp up on this one. I'm not saying that there's an appetite for 20 games from us, but there seems to be an appetite for. There's roughly 250 games coming out every month from all studios all over the world with different platforms and so forth. I think what we can do is making it easier for the operators. They know they get it through here. It's easier. They know they can take the roadmap. So I don't see why we would not even be able to release 20 per month.
No, I don't think that. Yeah. I don't think that the quantity from Yggdrasil is a problem here. I mean, at the end we have a great representation of innovative studios, and every creation that they are doing is unique and sought after, and creates that relevancy, through the pipeline that we want. I believe that as we go along, of course, we probably will see. We will learn a lot about the sort of the strength in the collaborations between studios. What they want to focus on, and that means also that our feedback or our collaboration with the operators will be more clear as well. And we need to make it very clear about the USPs and what is these games about, and a little bit of a personal feel about it. And Chris, for the player, you have created a strong brand, through the way you go to market. So, this means that even if you're using a strategic partner like Yggdrasil, that doesn't mean, that you sort of fall behind in the value chain either. Because when you do something really good, you are creating a game brand awareness yourself, and you sit on the IP and that asset. So I think it's a win-win throughout. And in one of the previous podcasts, we talked about the mechanical frameworks and how we can collaborate on using assets in order to get these high-performance mechanics on the market in the partnership. And here, for the player, you guys have just signed up, and I think that is just another proof of that the collaboration, the trust and confidence in the collaboration is working.
Yeah, absolutely. The opportunity to kind of for the ecosystem as a whole to learn what's working and to share IP is also there as well, isn't it? Through all these tool sets, and if there are trends that can be shared and IP that can be shared as well, then everybody benefits.
Chris Ash, I just want to zoom out now and take in the wider view. What does engaging with Gatti mean for your studio, for the player? And what does it mean for studios generally?
I think the combination of all of the things that we've been talking about just allows studios to focus on their creativity, their skill sets and their ideas. And in a world where, you know, there's increasing complexity in the regulatory constraints in the different markets, and big distribution networks like Yggdrasil are in many different markets and will continue, no doubt, to be in new ones. That level of complexity is increasing and is being abstracted from the developers themselves, so they can concentrate on what they're good at. I think that's how I'd sort of summarise it.
And do you think, Chris, that for independent studios like yours, Gatti is something that really unlocks commercial viability in a way that simply wasn't there before? So for smaller studios, perhaps this is something that frees them up and finds a path to bring new innovation to market.
No, I mean, I think that's definitely the case. I mean, look, you know, it's so competitive. There are so many people making content now. But if it was all polarized around the larger organizations, there would undoubtedly be, you know, bigger costs to entry and less creativity. But what you really want to do is foster an environment where smaller studios can contribute and bring in new ideas. And, you know, the prize, if you do something really good, is big because it's a global market now. But you can't expect every small team to have an infrastructure and an organization that facilitates all of those different markets. It's just impossible, and it takes years to do to create that network. So the opportunity is there for the developers to aim at the global market, and the benefit for the network is that there's a huge variety of ideas.
Fred, whether we've been talking about Gatti or the YG Masters program, ultimately it seems the aim has been to release innovation, to unlock creativity. Perhaps meeting some of those aims you set out right at the beginning of the project. Is that right?
Yep. Well, exactly. So I'm very happy to hear that. And we heard it in different contexts previously here before. And I think what the overall strategy is always here been, and I talked about it in our opening discussion previously in I think the first podcast, it was about finding the position for YGG going forward. And that was to build a publishing model, create a very sustainable revenues in a very fast moving landscape. So what we've been working on is a diversification of revenue streams, of a complete diversification of the business, of our business, and we see that coming to fruition now. So every year on year, as we hand over and present it to the board and the shareholders, which of course I'm a part of as well, we have created a better, more sustainable business. And I think this, with the collaborational model where we are collaborating with creativity, because as Chris said, it's the creativity is there, you know. Chris Ash and his teams, there are other teams that are doing it, and we just need to enable them and you know, make sure that they want to partner with us for the duration of their company trajectory and business plan, as well as we want to secure that our other partners on the other side, the operators, see that we bring value by doing so. So it's just a strategic thing that we set up to take that position about being the collaborator, a true collaborator. Someone can say they're collaborating and selling you a GDK that you realize that it's a bottleneck. So you're like, you spend some time and money going in there, and you realize that if I don't give them my math models, I'm never going to get my stuff out. And even if I give them a math model, I'm going to take maybe 18 months before I get the stuff. So so which means that, you know, we're business owners. We understand a studio, they need to get their games out because they have a liquidity liquidity challenges that not only I'm talking about player liquidity, I'm talking about cash liquidity. You know, you have a cash flow, you have people you want to hire, you want to make games and so forth to grow your business. And the last thing you want is to have a lot of games on the shelf that you can't get to market. So it's a time to market thing, which means it's a time to cash flow. And we believe if we can be that partner, and you know, since as I said, we can be that partner, we're going to have a great position, we're going to have sustainable revenues, and we're going to be a key player in this industry, how it evolves. And I see that we've just seen the beginning of it. I see, give it 12 more months, there will be another studio that have popped up that is creating hit games. And give it another 12 more months, there's going to be another studio, probably based on people that we know or that did good things already somewhere else, some other constellations. It's going to be much more of these smaller constellations or new constellations. It's going to pop up like mushrooms. And we want to enable that, you know, bring down the barriers, free creativity, you know, it's that kind of a mission view, but that is actually not rooted in a complete non-financial. It's actually rooted. The strategy is rooted in pure financial sense at the same time. So it's not pure altruism, not only.
It occurs to me, Bjorn, that the company has kind of always thought and acted like a big company, even at the beginning. Now, looking back and reflecting on where we are, what have successes like Gatti and the Masters Program meant to the company? What do they mean for the brand? They must be tremendously valuable assets when it comes to marketing. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And as both Christoph and Fred have been outlining, I mean, the company saw very early that Gatti is something unique. It's a true disruptor in the market, and how to capitalize on that disruptor. So Gatti is obviously helping Yggdrasil in achieving, let's say, a higher trust, confidence, and self-confidence in moving forward with the strategy that we have. And I think it's important to outline that it's about focus. I mean, who do we want to be and where do we want to go? And be very determined on putting our resources, our innovation, the hardworking passion from our colleagues into that focus that is ultimately our core business. And on top you have that strategy and vision which Fred has been talking about. And I mean, when we say that we are taking the publisher route to market, it's not the paper product, it's reality. So we are creating that foundation and those enablers. If it's technology on one end with Gatti, that is sort of a centerpiece in our value propositions offering being a publisher, or how we go to market and focus on regulatory markets, focus on globalization in order to enable, you know, the programs and value propositions coming through Gatti into those markets and customers. I mean, we do that, but it's all about focus. And I think if we maintain the focus and we, you know, put our souls and be paranoid about the core business and we want to achieve part of our vision, I mean, we can create the wonders, and we do that in very tight collaboration with all stakeholders here.
Turning back to Christoph now, with Gatti, another success story. I'm keen to know what's ahead. We'll go back to Camille soon and see how he's getting on. See what he's achieved, see whether his career will flourish or not. I'm glad that Fred was the one to laugh there. Christoph, how will Gatti evolve?
The way I see it is, as you said, evolution and not revolution. I think Gatti is proven, mature piece of technology already. So we will definitely work on tweaking it, adding some minor features to make it even smoother to work with, but I wouldn't expect any revolutions in the Gatti itself. What I think the next step is actually services around BI, access to raw data, being able to launch campaigns by studios or even create their own tools. creating some communication bridge between studios and operators, so they can, they can also maybe even negotiate special deals or special, promotions. I don't know. So I can imagine Gatti being central piece of that ecosystem, but what we should focus on next is actually the services around, not the Gatti itself.
Camille, I think it might be time to see what you've managed to achieve in the very small time that we've allowed for you to produce this game. So if in just an hour, Gatti has delivered the goods. So if you want to take over for a minute or two, that works for me.
Yeah, let's see how much I need. So basically, that's the game, all hooked up. And basically, we can flip the coin in the most basic way. So this is how we win. Actually, the Yggdrasil logo wins us some money. If we get the star, we don't win, but we only win this time. So here what you can see is basically that my balance is real. It's so the wallet management is taken care of by the Gatti platform. The bet amounts, possible bet amounts that I'm right now scrolling through, I configure them on inside the game server, and then the currency exchange is taken care of. It's by the platform. So if I change to yens or something like that, the game will reload, the currency is formatted correctly, and we have completely new set of currencies all taken care of by Gatti platform. We also have, you can see how we have an autoplay implemented. So we can play automatically, but this feature isn't supposed to be enabled on every market. So if I were right now to simulate, let's say, Finnish market, so then you will see after the game loads that the auto spin button is gone. And right now we're emulating Finnish market. So also, you've just seen another feature that is simplifying debugging a lot. We call it the launcher. It basically shows, it runs your game and it gives you ability to try your game with different users, with different licenses, currencies, languages, etc. Because Partner Connect and Gatti platform is helping you with lots of this stuff. If I had more time, I would show you how we can use some translation strings, how I would use some persistency. But basically, this is it for today. I want to show you my code editor for just a second. So the game server, I chose Node and JavaScript to build it. And you can see I basically wrapped it all up within 100 lines of code. It's really not that much. I mean, the game itself, the game logic is just a couple of lines of code, like 5 maybe. Everything else is Gatti requirements. But as I scroll through for the more technically inclined of you, you will see that all of this code is really trivial. I would say it's a basic boilerplate, and it's really not that much to build a basic game. I would say for game server, 100 lines, 2 hours, and not much more for the game client, and you're good to go. And then, of course, there are more complex features on top of it. Like our platform supports replays, restores, and many more advanced features. So that is on top of that. That has to be learned. But just to kick it off, just to get on the platform, to start developing with our tools, it's really not much. And this is what I try to prove with this simple game live coding exercise. So what do you think?
Great stuff.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I think Yggdrasil's going to launch a currency. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bjorn, you want to speak?
Awesome. I was just wanted to make a comment. I mean, I think the audience will will feel it as we feel it.
I think it's worth mentioning. Of course, this is super simple example, but when studios are integrating their engines, it's not taking so much longer. Chris, maybe you can tell us how long it took to integrate first game, and what is your experience in general when it comes to timeline?
I think it was pretty smooth. I think obviously with any platform that you're learning the ropes on, particularly one that's got so many sophisticated features in it, you need to build in some time to learn them all. But once the benefits of that when you're up and running is that, as Camille's just demonstrated, you've got a sandbox that you can write code into, and a lot of the layers around it are abstracted, so you'd expect it to go quickly. Yeah, depending on the complexity of your game engine, of course, you're talking in weeks rather than months to deliver something. And if you've already got some code that you've written, the system supports it, which is another huge benefit. And well done, Camille. That's it's an impressive demo.
And yes, thanks again to Camille, especially given the added pressure of having your CEO on the call. Thanks so much. Thanks to Chris Ash from For The Player for joining us. And finally, thanks again to Fred, Bjorn and Christoph for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been very enjoyable. Have a great day. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Chris.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Adios, amigos. Ciao, ciao, ciao.